All right, welcome to the blog party. My name is Seth Kushner. Coburn, who you're probably watching this podcast for, is in England right now. We're recording this the week of Thanksgiving, Monday. You're probably wondering who these guys are. Nobody wants to do a podcast the week of Thanksgiving, okay? So we had to track down a couple of Emmy Award winners. That's right, Emmy Award winners for The Lightning. Gabe and Mikey, welcome to the blog party.
How you doing, man? Thanks for having us.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having us, man.
I feel like you guys are not separate entities. It's Gabe and Mikey, like you guys are together. That's it. They're like, do you want to talk to Gabe and Mikey? Gabe and Mikey are doing this. How long have you guys been working together, and what are your official titles? Because I just want to call you guys the video guys, because I feel like you.
We love that, the video guys for the Lightning. Yeah, we love that.
Yeah, Bolts TV, formerly, now VSG Productions. But yeah, just the video guys, camera guys.
You guys are cool with that?
Yeah, we're fine with that. Whatever. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just get right now. So this is an Emmy, right? Yeah. Is that really an Emmy? Is that
Suncoast Regional Emmy.
Okay,
no, it's not ours. This one's not ours.
It's not yours. So how did you guys end up winning an Emmy? And was it for Recharge?
Yes, for Recharge.
Okay, all right. So tell everybody what Recharge is. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, I mean, it's probably right there as your next option to watch. So how did it start? We're in season, 4 now, aren't we?
Four, yes. 4. Funny start is it started as 2019. Obviously, we had a phenomenal regular season. It was 62 wins, right? And we figured we had to document and tell the cinematic story of this team, and we expected a very long run. So Mikey was our lead editor. I was sending footage back for games 3 and 4. Obviously, we all know how it turned out, but he was doing a great job of putting together 5-minute recaps of each game. And obviously, we saw how that turned out.
Yeah.
But it kind of set the fire of we needed to start cinematically telling the story of this franchise.
So basically, the idea was like after every playoff game, we're going to turn around because we had one day in between, basically. So by the morning skate show of the next game, we're going to turn the game into like a 4 to 5 minute, like feels like you're watching a movie of the game basically. And like you said, our idea was, this is going to be a nice long run. It's going to be great.
That's like a horrible movie, right? Yeah, worst movie ever.
I do game 1. It's like, we go up, the heartbreak of losing, get it done. I'm like, all right, it came out good. Like this is the triumphs and the lows and everything. Then we lose game 2. Then we lose game 3. Yeah. And it's like, I remember even we went to go post like the game 2 one on the website, and there was a fight in that game. I think it was Pointer got in a fight, and the league has like a no fighting on the website type.
Do they?
So
see that stuff? I didn't know that.
There you go. There's your first behind the scenes.
There's a whole lot of fights on YouTube though. Like,
so if you like go and type in Recharge in the website, like that one is like, it's the missing files. It's not there. And same with game 4, because I think once we went down 3-0, we were like, let's not do this, and no one's gonna want to relive this. So,
did you feel like the project was? I mean, it was dead, or just inspired you guys more for the next season?
Yeah. So from there, we kind of jumped into. We just had opening night, and same thing. It's like this is gonna be a big season because it's all about the redemption of what happened the year before. So we shot opening night. Like 3 of us shot it, edited it. So same thing. We're like, we can call this a Recharge because this still wasn't. It was supposed to only be like a 4-minute, 5-minute thing. And then it got good reception. And then the changing point was that year was the trip to Sweden, the global series. So Gabe was going, and the rest of us were back here at our desk. So we were like, okay, why don't we turn this trip into something a little longer, where it's like a 10-minute, like kind of special on it, and we'll call it Recharge. And Gabe did like a great job shooting it, and it was one of those where we shot so much stuff that it was like, man, this is like, we can make this long. And I think it was, I want to say like 17 minutes or so.
It was good.
Put it out, and we got like great feedback from like higher ups and everything, saying like, we love this, we want more of this stuff. So from there, it kind of took off into what it is now a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny how it kind of coincides with the team, right? Like Sweden trip was a jumping off point for the on-ice success, and then it was a jumping off point for us to help tell that story of their on-ice success.
All right, so we mentioned that you were in Sweden, and to me, Mikey, do you go on this stuff at all too? Are you
this.
I don't want to leave you out at all.
No, for sure.
I do want to say, like, these guys. We'll get to the stories here. I mean, they're around the team all the time. They're around the guys. They travel with them.
It's honestly like a progression. Like, people don't realize Gabe's been here 10 years. I've been here 5, so he's doubled me up. He used to have black hair when I first started here. And,
I met Mikey, and then all the stress in the world changed. Silver Fox now.
So I was his first intern ever. So that was 2016-17 season. So I've been here technically 6, but 5 on the pay books. So we basically it's just kind of progressed where he has always gone on the trip since what was your first year traveling?
My first year was 2014 in this role. So when we got swept by Montreal, so I've been here since like the whole run of Cooper. So it's been a blast to kind of see from that point, and then to finally obviously win into Cooper.
All right, so tell people like when we say you're the video guy and you're traveling with the team, you're down there with one of the cameras in the little holes, right? Filming stuff. Is that's you?
Yeah, we're down in the locker room pregame. We're on the bus with the team. We're getting their arrival on the road. We're getting the guys as they put their uniforms on. We're getting them as they're stretching.
It wasn't always that way, was it?
Wasn't always that way. No, so there just wasn't a stomach for it, an appetite for it, for us to put that stuff out there consistently. So once we started telling this story cinematically, we're like, all right, well, how can we continue to show the behind the scenes of the Lightning? And so we just kept doing that. And graciously, Cooper was awesome. Cooper kept allowing us to be behind there, be in the locker room for post-game win ceremonies, and like allowing us to show the fans a deeper sign.
This was during 2020? This was before they won the Cup?
Yeah.
Okay.
So originally starting off, like in what our roles are, it was a lot more like news gathering stuff, like player media, things like that. And then as
boring stuff, you mean?
Yeah, as content has progressed, like as we've all seen, like content's progressed, there's more of a hunger for that. So like we were saying, like back to the Sweden thing, like it just came back from higher ups. They're like, we want to see more of this. But it's like, okay, how are we going to do this behind the scenes show when it's like we're kind of fly on the walls? Like it's almost like we're here filming, like, okay, and seeing what gets approved and everything. But it's just progressed from there. Now we do off-ice features and all this stuff that players are more than willing to do, which is
the player
awesome.
buy-in has been awesome since the first day we started doing this, to see it progress. So we're now, but first we say, Breezer, our PR guy, would ask, hey, can you do an interview for Recharge? And they'd be like, what's Recharge? And now it's like, can we do an interview for Recharge? I was like, sure, all right. Now we can go trick-or-treating with the Belmars, or we can go and shoot Bogo and his kid, So and we're totally welcome to do that. So that's great.
That's what it's like with the block party. Like, we do the block party, they're like, what's that? And so then it's like, maybe 5 years from now, people will finally get it. All right, so you mentioned Belmar. He's one of my favorite guys. I had him on last year right around this time. We were talking about Halloween, and I talked about Reese's peanut butter cups, and he's never had it. He said he doesn't like American candy at all. So I was like very fascinated by the fact that he was taking his kids trick-or-treating. They had Skittles and all that. Were you guys both there? Tell me how this all got set up to where he's a nice guy. Like, I feel like he'd agree to do anything, but to have that chance to go trick-or-treating with Belly and his family, I mean, that's got to be pretty cool. To work aside.
Yeah, 100%. Because he, they've always been so gracious every time we've done stuff with them, and he's been so welcoming. So once he told us that we could do it, we were so excited. We knew Mikey and I were both there. We had Gabby Shirley, our reporter, was there helping facilitate any interviews and stuff like that. And the kids were phenomenal, as I'm sure you guys have seen on the latest Recharge if you haven't watched it yet.
Go watch it.
But he's so welcoming and willing to answer questions, willing to let us shoot the kids, mic up the kids. So he's very aware of this. And his wife even asked for all the footage, which is awesome because she wants to be able to show her kids that they're not going to believe that a camera crew followed them to go trick-or-treating when they were like 5 or 6 years old,
Needless to say, even with Halloween costumes, we still stuck out because we're walking around with a boom mic operator, 2 cameras. All these kids are walking by, and they're like, is that a TV show? Are you guys? And I'm like, yep, we're reality TV. So they're just like, what is going on?
I've always found
it's just so funny to see like how badly we stuck out. But when you're watching it, you don't even think about it.
And we're sprinting across the street. Yeah. He's holding the cable and mic, and he's got a mic, boom mic guy tethered to his camera, so it's pretty funny. We're working up a sweat while they're having the time of their lives. We're working up a sweat.
Are those hard to edit? Like when you're with them for so long, you get so much good content. You go, oh man, how am I going to whittle this down?
We boil down that Belmar. We probably came back with 35 minutes of footage on 2 cameras, so you're now looking at 60 minutes of footage. And we got to boil it down to 4.5, 5 minutes for a segment for Recharge.
That's not easy.
The cutting board is the hardest part of those Recharge off-ice segments. We can come back with so much stuff, and it's just like, okay, we need the best of the best from it.
All right, before I forget, I want to ask this Recharge question. Before I forget, I'm going to jump around here. What's been the most touching Recharge that you guys have been a part of?
I think for me, I think easily it was. We went out to the All-Star game in Las Vegas, and that was kind of the birth of Carter Stamkos as the Zamboni boy and everything. So just capturing all that, because we went out there that was my first All-Star game I've covered. It was just me and Brian Burns and Missy, our social media person. And it was just like okay, go capture the All-Star game, and we'll use a little of it in recharge.
What a great job, by the way. It's like go film stuff around the All-Star game.
Exactly. But then it turned into something like so much more where it's like Stammer's like, I'm going to go skate with Carter. Like, you guys can come along. And like, it's kind of interesting because our players will be in those moments. It's like, yeah, come with us because they want like those photos and those videos like for when they're older and everything.
That's smart.
So
I mean, it's smart those guys are realizing it.
Yeah,
it's good for
like,
a multitude of reasons.
Obviously, we didn't know it was going to blow up into what it has with him getting a Zamboni commercial and everything.
Yeah.
But
he's got a real Zamboni now, doesn't he?
It's like
the
crazy.
Stamboni.
Yeah, the Stamboni. But it was just awesome to capture. And I remember like standing in the locker room and like Carter's walking on his skates over to Steven at his stall, and I'm just like capturing it, and I'm like, this is like unreal. Like this is not what we expected it to be. So that's definitely mine.
How do you get
far.
and all right, so before Gabe gets into his, I feel like you guys are close with Stammer. I feel, I was going through Twitter, there's pictures with them, when they won the cup. How do you get to that point? Is it just being around him for so long? You said you've been here 10 years, and he's been here, what, 12 or 13? Who knows how long? Is it just being around him for that long and earning his trust?
Exactly. That's the word. It's earning your trust. It's a family in the locker room. It's such a special bond, as everyone has seen, and you just slowly have to ingratiate yourself with there and earn their trust. You shoot something with them, and it comes back, and it's awesome, and they love it. They ask for it. They want to see it. They tell you you did a great job. And you just slowly earn that trust, and like it helps too when Cooper's so engaged and loves having us around. So it's been a blast.
It's big too, like you said, the picture of the cup and stuff. It's like you're experiencing the best moment of these guys' lives with them. So it's like it kind of expedites that process of trust, where it's like we've been through this together almost. So it helps that we are working with the team in the golden age of this franchise.
It's the golden era of the franchise, so we don't take that lightly. Like when we're shooting, like we want to make sure we are doing the best job possible, because 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you're going to be watching this footage of 3 straight Stanley Cup final appearances, and hopefully you're watching a lot of the stuff that we documented. So
we're in the middle of a dynasty here, people, okay? And these guys are documenting it all. All right, so Mikey just took credit for launching Carter Stamkos' career. I like that.
I'm
Gabe.
still waiting on my check. Little cut.
I'm sure the captain's happy. Gabe, what about you? What's been the most touching recharge that you've been a part of?
To me, not so much one episode, but I would say being able to capture the players' genuine speeches to each other throughout these deep runs, especially this last one. I think throughout my time here, Game 5, the win at Colorado, was one of the most, like, I could not believe that I was behind the scenes to watch Steven Stamkos deliver a speech to the team with their backs against the wall. Like, it was I get emotional just thinking about it. Like, it's happening, and I'm hitting record, and I'm like, this is the great Steven Stamkos, like, delivering a tremendous speech to his team, and I have the opportunity to capture that, and it's been awesome.
Was that was a before the game speech?
Before the game speech, yes. So you can hear we're in the locker room, and you can hear it's going crazy inside Colorado. They know the cup is in the building, but we are there, like, backs against the wall, and all these greats and legends, these Lightning legends, are on the locker room ready to go to war again, and they came back with a victory. It was awesome.
And kind of like we talked about with trust, like Gabe's been here 10 years, so he has that trust where he's in the locker room, like pre-game, witnessing these moments that, like, it's just surreal when you have them, where it's like, oh my God, I'm recording this. He missed one playoff game, and luckily I got to go record, but we lost. So not allowed in the locker room anymore.
Yeah, Mikey's had a tough record. There's been a lot of rumors that he's been the bad luck on their team.
Who started that? What player said that he was bad? Yeah,
Mikey Poirier, our head trainer.
Oh yeah, we've had Mikey on the pod before.
I've been waiting for him to be standing at the plane and be like, "Sorry, you're not coming on the plane tonight."
Yeah, I was getting the blame for sending Mikey on the chips, but we turned it around with a big victory.
When
in
we
Nashville.
had the OT in Nashville, I was like, you could probably see me behind the net, like.
Shout is
thank God.
Shout is off the hook now.
All right, tell me this, because I know you guys are very much in the know. Tell me what piece of news over the last few years you found out about that you couldn't tell anybody about, but you knew way before the public did. Was it Stamkos coming back? Because you're in the mix. Was it Stamkos coming back to play, during the first cup against the Stars? Yes. Was it a trade or something you caught wind of? Or like, oh man, people are going to go crazy for this?
I would say it was Stammer.
Yeah,
we weren't in the bubble, but we knew, like, to create content for it. We received a text message from there. We were like, okay, we need to prepare because it's gonna happen tonight.
What did the text say?
It just said
91 is in.
91 is in. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like, I think the game before we kind of had it ready because there was like rumblings he might play this game. So we're kind of waiting all day, and we never got the text. So we're like, okay. And then morning skate of that game 3, right?
Yeah.
Game 3, it's 91 is in, and we're like, okay, the video's ready to go.
Yeah,
so
cool.
it was awesome.
When do you guys get to put the cameras down and celebrate with the team? Because, I mean, there are pictures in the locker. That's why I thought. I was wondering if your names were on the cup because, I mean, you guys are right there. You guys are right there in the mix. Like, before the parents see their kids, it's like Gabe and Mikey, or, with Killer and Stammer. So when did you just go, man, I'm done working?
Well, I have a great story with Chowder here. We call it Chowder, by the way, too. That's Mikey's nickname in the locker room.
We can get into that next.
Yeah, who gave that to you?
So
we'll get into it.
we win the second cup here on home ice, obviously, as everybody's seen. We're on the ice. I'm capturing everything. I'm part of the huddle at first. Then I go back to the bench to grab my camera to start shooting everybody lifting the cup. Anyways, we come back off. Because we're still in the red zone, still in COVID protocols, we can only have a limited amount of people on the ice. So, unfortunately, Mikey didn't have a pass to get on the ice.
I got left behind.
So
he's like, unfortunately,
I'm like on the glass.
Yeah.
Like,
so we're finally heading back. Stammer brings the cup back to the locker room. I'm like, where's Mikey? So I have to go run. He's in the media press conference room waiting to continue doing his job.
Oh,
he was
wow.
still
we
in
gotta
work
film
mode.
these press conferences.
Yeah, and I had to pull him out and say, Mikey,
Put the camera down.
There's plenty of other cameras. Put the camera down. Let's go. And so as we get back just in time for like Vinnick and Cooch's like speech together, and it was awesome. So to be able to just put the camera down and really embrace it and hug it and celebrate with the players and coaches was awesome, because you just feel a part of the team, and that goes back to that trust that we talked about. We're not there unless we have that trust.
Yeah.
So you become part of the family. It's awesome.
Yeah. Same with like the boat parade. It's like that balance of like, okay, everyone's having an absolute blast. Like, I need to capture Cooch ripping his shirt off and twisting around his head, but I also like take it in and enjoy it.
And he's hoping I don't catch him on another boat with a Bud Light in his hand.
Yeah. Tell me about the boat parade. I mean, how does it? I do want to find out about Chowder, though. I do want to find out who gave you that name.
So it actually came. So like we said, another Mikey Poirier reference. He's in the locker room. He's Mikey, but I'm also Mikey. So it's like, we can't call you Mikey when I first started going in the locker room. So we're big Office fans, and there's big tuna on The Office. Wow. And I'm from Massachusetts, and I like to let people know that I am, and I love clam chowder. I do love it. So Gabe would call me Big Chowder, and I think him and Breezeman kind of ran with it. And then I was going on my first road trip. It was like a Philly, New Jersey back-to-back. Wow. And
were you scared? What were you thinking first road trip?
Definitely like not scared, but just more like I want to come back and be allowed to go on another one. That's a big thing.
You're like, I gotta walk past Headman on this plane here.
Exactly.
If I look at them the wrong way, they're gonna rip me right off.
And luckily, like, I had Kaylee Chelios, our reporter at the time, like a great friend of ours. So she was like, I'll like take you under my wing for the road trip. And then we like get on the plane and she doesn't even sit with me. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, she's like, I'm gonna go sit with Dave Mishkin. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, do I put my seatbelt on? Like, all this crazy stuff. But so
before that trip, Cooper calls me into the theater room in our practice facility. He's like, Gabe, come here. He's like, who's the new guy? Like, he's going on the trip? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, his name's Mikey, but you can call him Chowder. He's like, what? His eyes lit up. He's like, Chowder. He's like, no way. So he opens the door. He's like, calls Mikey in. He's like, Chowder. And he just fell in love with it. Since then, like, the whole team loves Chowder. It's great. It's slowly, everyone's starting to learn that it's Chowder, but it's been a blast to see. It's a great nickname.
Like you said, people are starting to learn. Like, Pat Maroon, I'd say, and Ryan McDonough are two of the biggest who always said it, used it. Maroon for sure. Like, get on the plane, yells it as loud as he can, all this stuff. So, like, just making it known. So I'm sure some of our guys are probably like, who keeps yelling about soup? Like, what is going on here?
And you already know this, but that, like, you're part of the team.
Yeah,
like,
it's a great nickname.
They're not doing that if they hate you. Like,
having a good nickname is, I think, key. Yeah. But it's funny, we were at the Stadium Series, and we're going to a press conference, and it's Maroon and Perry are getting on a golf cart to go. And mind you, Perry's only been here half a season, not even. Yeah. So I've barely kind of know him. And we're getting on, and I'm like trying to run to get on the golf cart, and someone's like, Chowder, hurry up. And Perry's like, who the F is Chowder? He's like, all I hear is Chowder this, Chowder that. And then I'm like, dude, like, it's me, because we did know each other. He's like, you're Chowder? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, that makes so much more sense. Like, it finally clicked in his head. So then the rest of the day, he's just like, Chowder, Chowder, Chowder. Yeah. Like,
God, poor Corey Perry was just all year. Nobody gave
knew who Chowder was.
Even though he's great friends with Pat Maroon. Yeah. Okay, that's a good little backstory right there. All right, so two boat parades here.
Yep.
Let's talk about the first one, and then let's talk about what we learned from the first one on your end for the second one. Talk about the first one. You said you guys were not in the bubble.
Bring more batteries.
Yeah, the first one was
so
honestly interesting because when we showed up, I think we were supposed to still be wearing masks, and it's like we're outside on boats. Like right away, I was like, let's get this out of here. Like, but it was just very like we kind of divide and conquer who's gonna go with what boat.
No.
I was on like the bachelor boat, basically, like all the young guys.
Who
like,
was it?
I was with Kalorn, Sorelli,
Joseph,
Tyler Johnson, and Matty Joe. So 4 of them, and it was an awesome time. It was a great time. But it's still like that was the first one, so it's more that balance of like, okay, how much do I have to film? How much can I actually enjoy this?
Was your mind
Can I have a Bud Light? Like, what's going on?
Was your mind blown as it was happening? Did you realize like this is a big deal?
Yeah. I think because whose boat were you? You were with.
I was with Point, Gord, and Paquette.
Yeah, and we all know
They
how
were having a blast,
Yanni
yeah.
Gord, party
Yeah,
animal.
he was a legend that day. So I remember so speaking of my battery, towards the end of the boat parade, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna make it to this ceremony in Ray J with enough batteries. So I just start pulling out my phone, and then of course I'm there like looking like a fanboy, getting pictures of shirtless Yanni Gord. But then we get a that's all right. Oh, it's a dog.
It's game day, so we got the bomb sniffing dogs.
Yeah.
Long as the dogs are here.
Okay, no drug sniffing dogs here, just bomb sniffing dogs. Okay, that's never happened before in the block party.
Hey, that's a first.
This is not rehearsed.
Hey, but you know what? This is important. We're playing Boston tonight, okay? And I already saw those fans are stalking the outside the hotel room. All right, so I was at Ray J. We were supposed to do a show, The Chirp, that day, and we were supposed to interview players, which that didn't happen. Nobody thought that through of like players are going to be a little bit too buzzed to go on the air with us. You guys were a couple hours late.
Yeah.
So what's the whole
pitch
process? Was
black.
it like
We're
trying to
just
get
corralling the guys from getting off the boats onto the buses.
It was crazy.
It was nuts.
Were you part of the corralling? Like everybody had to
Yeah,
corral?
exactly. Yeah. And then sooner or later, like, well, I got to get on a bus too. You know, you don't want to get left behind.
So on the boat, like we had our good times and everything, and kind of like you were saying, the craziness. Like you're going up the channel, and you're like, oh yeah, this is cool. But then like as soon as you turned into where American Social was and stuff, it's like this is unreal. Like the people like pouring over and everything.
That's when it hit you.
Yeah, and then there was like boat traffic. It's like it's taking us 30 minutes to get to Rick's on the River.
Yeah.
So we get there. I think it's just like it's dark out almost basically.
Yeah, sun is
so you're
definitely
trying to
setting.
corral these players in the dark. Like get on, come on, my boat. Get on this trolley. Let's get on this trolley. And then once they get to Ray J, it's like it was like herding sheep.
Yeah.
It's like everyone up the escalator, like go this way.
Who was the
and
toughest to herd? Who was the for you? I mean, who was just really
Honestly,
Maroon?
it's funny because like Patty and I weren't that close yet, and I feel like that day, like I kind of was like, all right, I'll help you once we got to Ray J, and that's what kind of where our like friendship blossomed. Was like
Speaking of
he's on the side of the stage and he's like, shout it. Like calling me over, and he's like, can you get me this, whatever? I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then he was giving his speech about he was gonna get up and talk. I'm like, how is this guy gonna talk in front of Raymond James? He's like, he came over, he's like, I'm gonna tell he pulls me to the side, he's like, I'm gonna tell everyone to like put their flashlights on. Can you ask the stadium to like turn the lights off?
He's
And
like
I'm
a rock star. It's a rock star moment here.
Like he wanted pyrotechnics.
He's Bruno
I'm like,
Mars.
He understood the moment, you know?
I'm like, yeah, we can ask. And I went to like Lucy DeVillio, one of our production assistants. I'm like, can someone in the control room like possibly turn the lights off when Maroon's talking? She's like, they said it takes like 30 minutes to power the lights down here. So I'm like, okay, that's not going to happen. So I went back to him and I'm like, you can say like, put your flashlights on, but the lights aren't. But in my head, I'm like, he's not even going to remember if the lights go off or not. So
He nailed
it was
the
unreal.
speech, though.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
everyone's was
Legendary.
awesome.
All right, so you guys are around the locker room all the time. Now, had you ever seen Cooch like that before? Was that the first time that you really saw?
Never. You'll get a nice little smirk from him. You're like, oh, Cooch is in a good mood. He said hi to me today. He's a great guy, but just it was awesome to see him celebrate that because you never get to see that personality of him to just let loose and have a good time.
He's just so like he's so dedicated to his craft at all times. He's all business, like so you just have the utmost respect for him because you're like he's just so good at what he does.
And people take
then-
that they always say like, oh, he's dismissive or he's a bad teammate and stuff like
it's
that,
just
but he's
like-
very focused.
And he wants you to like if I'll be shooting him sometimes getting ready or doing a drill by himself, and he tells me to shoot other guys. He's like because he doesn't need the screen time that his teammates do. So he's like. He's a good dude from that perspective.
He's a great guy.
Yeah,
so
he's
when you
awesome.
saw him going wild, did you go, oh man, did
it's
you have to start
crazy.
grabbing cameras or what? Who was like Cooch's personal cameraman at
So-
Ray J?
Everybody, I guess, right?
Yeah, that one it was everyone, and like you said, like he finally reaches the top of the mountain like that. You win a Stanley Cup, so that's when it's like the business is over. Like let's party. and he knows how to party.
But it was a good shift from like, don't shoot me with the camera to like now he's looking at your camera and he's pointing at it and he's celebrating. It's like, man, who is this guy? You know. But it was awesome. It was so
and
cool
then
to see.
the second boat parade, I was on the boat with the Russians, so it was Sergey, Vasi, Kuch, and it was just like, it was insane.
Oh, that was Conn Smythe head, right?
Yeah. So that's the thing. They put out T-shirts, and you can see like half my body sitting in the corner.
Yeah.
I said I got like Mike Wazowski in Monsters Inc. Like I'm just there in the corner.
What was that like being on with like Vasi, Sergey?
Yeah, I didn't know we were doing the assignments for the boats. We're putting everybody on, and we're like, all right, here, and we're like, all right, well, we need somebody on the Russian boat. I'm like, all right, Chowder, you got to go on the Russian boat because they know him. So you've got a history with them. So then
they trust you.
I had known like Sergey pretty well because we had done some off ice with him and stuff.
Yeah.
But Vasi and Kuch is more so like they know who I am because I'm around. But it's like I'm not messing with any rituals or anything while they're preparing, so I don't bother them.
Yeah.
But so I got on the boat, and of course I get on, and it's like whatever morning. I'm sure everyone's hungover. Like it's a morning after we won. Like as soon as you win, it's a week-long party basically. And we get on, they're all quiet. They're all just speaking Russian to each other. I'm like, what have I gotten myself into?
They were talking about you.
But then as soon as we get out of the marina, it's just like flip the switch. Kuch puts his shirt over his head and puts a beer through his shirt. Like,
were they trying to get you to party with them at all?
No, yeah, they are all so generous. They're like, here, have a beer, whatever. I'll never forget we were going, like actually right before Vasi did the Conn Smythe head. So Kuch hopped off our boat and got on a jet ski with Killer. So Kuch was just gone for like 30 minutes. Like we're going down the river and it's like, where is Kuch? Like his family's on the boat with us, but he's just nowhere to be found.
Oh, Lord.
And we go up the river and I think Sergey had a bottle of like champagne and he goes to pop it like between his legs and it just flies right through his legs into the water. Full bottle of champagne. So if you go diving in the Hillsborough River, which I don't suggest you do.
No, don't.
There's a bottle there. We were all laughing pretty hard about it. And honestly, right before that, I had stepped up onto the side of the boat to get a shot of Vasi with the Conn Smythe like on his head, and I legitimately almost slipped and fell in. And Sergey reached to grab me, and I was like, oh my, like my instinct was throw the camera if I was falling in.
Yeah.
Just because that's
we don't want to save Mikey. We want to save the camera.
Wow, that was nice.
Yeah.
That Sergey tried to save your life. Like that's really hard.
But then once we got past like UT, all of a sudden the like police boat shows up and who's on it? Here's Kuch getting back on our boat. They're like, oh, we found his boat.
That was nice. They got him back. All right.
Yeah.
Did we talk about whose boat you were on for the second parade?
For the second parade, I was with Goodrow and Pointer.
Okay.
Yeah, Gordo was supposed to be on it, but then he got his own boat separate later on.
What was he on? He was on like a sailor.
Yeah.
He was just with him and his wife,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Just him and his family.
And that thing was absolutely.
But he didn't stop him though. He was still having a blast.
That thing was absolutely out of control. I mean, when did you guys go?
Yeah, that log jam in the what was that? Right outside the convention center. Like
American
boats were like
Convention
bumping
Center.
into each other. It was nuts. I'm like, man, I don't own a boat, but I'm stressed out.
That was also happening in the middle of the hurricane, like in a hurricane.
Yeah.
So all of it. So
Yeah, the weather. I remember we got to the like Julian B. Lane Park, and poor John Franzone is still probably kicking rocks about it and everything. But that storm was unreal. And then we're like gonna try to go attempt to film, and we step outside and we're like, we are not putting our cameras.
Yeah, we had
in
just
this.
got these cameras
Like, we had
this
cell
year.
phones
I'm like,
out
we
instead.
can't do this. Like, we can't.
But luckily,
afford
we
it.
did capture some like good stuff in the
Yeah.
rain. But it's like, damn, it was just crazy.
what are the what were your Stanley Cup moments like when you reflect? Talking about 10 years from now and working here and being in the mix. What's the one thing that's going to come to your head first?
So the first one's like tough because it was the bubble. So that one's honestly great because we were here watching like in our office. Like it was me, Gabe, Tyler, one of our other video guys, Fink, who used to work here.
I think
and
I was
Brian
across
Burns.
from you guys.
Yeah.
Getting
You were
chirp.
doing the chirp, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was just a very surreal moment because it's like, oh my God, we finally did it.
Finally
But
did it.
like we're here celebrating. The team's in Edmonton. But so that's why the boat parade for that was just so like it was incredible. Because
Yeah, we finally felt a part of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
because first, like we talked about, we had been behind the scenes for so long. So then obviously it's sent to the bubble, so you almost felt a little FOMO because you like weren't there to document. So, but we were just so happy for the guys to finally get over the hump. It was unreal to watch, and then to finally hug everybody and celebrate with everyone. It was great.
In terms of like video though, I would say like I was honestly thinking of this morning. Like my favorite moment that I've captured is by far like Ross Colton's goal in Game 5. So I was shooting like right next to the bench. So we switch ends. So Gabe gets the first period and third period of action. I get the second period of that we're attacking.
Is that for good luck, or is that
it's
just
just
like,
so we don't have to run around?
Okay.
So it's kind of like, okay, well, who's gonna get all the action tonight, basically?
Basically, we'll text each other too. Like, you got the game-winning goal. It's coming your way too.
Hopefully.
Like, just to pump each other up.
So then, like, second period, that goal happens, and I'm right there. Captures, he sellies right in front of me, jumps on the board, and like, it's so tough because the place is erupting. It's so loud. People around you are like pushing each other, like in celebration, and you're just like trying so hard to like stay steady and film the moment, but in your head, you're like, oh my God, we're going to win the Stanley Cup.
What's the turnaround on that content? Because the stuff that you guys film, like, that's what they put up on social media, and that all happens in a matter of, I feel like, minutes now.
Yeah, we're rushing. As soon as that period buzzer ends, we're sprinting to our desk to, like, turn it around.
Oh, you're turning it around yourself?
Yeah,
intermission.
And then we'll send it off to our social team, and they get it up as quick as they can.
So, like, that one, prime example, like, our workroom was kind of, like, right back here, the media workroom. So as soon as the period's over, as soon as the team clears the tunnel, like, we have a gate there. So I just jump in the tunnel, run, and I'm like, we need to cut this goal as quick as possible. Cut it, edit it, send it, and hopefully you get back for the start of the next period.
Gabe, do you have, like, a standout, you know?
Actually, yeah, so in that same cup, was it Game 3 at Montreal? So Johnson goes and has basically his swan song. Tyler Johnson has his swan song as a Tampa Bay Lightning player, and it's just the post-game moment in the locker room is something I'll always remember. The players are like, Johnny, Johnny, Johnny. They're waving their hands, and Cooper goes and tells the team and how special they are because now we're one win away from winning it all.
Yeah.
So it was just awesome to be there in that moment, even though I always say, like, winning on the road is such an awesome experience as being behind the scenes because we win and all you can hear is our bench celebrating in a building. So it's phenomenal. It's one of the things I love. You just feel like backs against the wall. So to be there on those moments is unreal. Then of course we finally come home and win it all. But watching Vinnick speak to the team in the locker room after the second cup was unreal, and then Cooch giving him a big hug is just legendary, right?
That's the thing. Like, there's so many moments where you're filming and you kind of get chills, or like the fanboy in you is like, oh my God, like what is going on?
Because we're all fans.
That's the thing is like we've built this trust relationship with the team, so it's like we're rooting for them like so hard because we want them to accomplish their goals and everything. But you have those moments where you have like chills and you're like, got to stay steady, like got to keep what I'm doing. This year, like perfect example, Game 6 against Toronto. We had Brandon Hagel mic'd up. So when we shoot mic'd ups, like one of us is on an ISO camera where you're just shooting the player the entire game.
Okay.
So you hear everything that goes on. It's like you're on the bench. Like it's scary because you're like, oh my God.
By the way, who's been the most like where you really had to do some heavy editing where people will never see the light of day for mic'd up? People love
I wouldn't know light of day, but just like Maroon in the playoffs,
good,
like those guys who really talk, like they say some hilarious stuff that we just can't put out.
Yeah, we're laughing like this is not on brand.
Yeah, if you see us in the stands, like if you see us in the stands filming with headphones on and like cracking up, it's probably because they're saying something on the bench that is outlandish.
And with Patty, there's always a funny conversation too. Yeah. You tend to have with one of his teammates. So
and then they'll be like, "Did you hear that, Gabe?" Or "Did you hear that?"
That's always funny when they break the fourth wall, you know.
All right, so any Coach Coop. So we talked about, I think you said the Stammer speech before one of the Stanley Cup games. Anybody else given a speech where you're just like, I can't believe I'm here for this? Coach Cooper, anybody like made you like afraid or want to run through a wall or go out and play?
Well, that's tough, man. There's been a couple.
Stammer in the playoffs just has some good like lineup reads where he'll like really get him fired up. I feel like
that one. Not to bring it back to that one. That Game 5 was just unreal because it was clear that we had no choice but to win, or the season was going to be over that night. And it was for him to step up, and something he doesn't normally do was always give a speech like that. Usually it's Cooper who kind of delivers a speech, and it's just maybe a couple rah-rah here and there. For him to stand up and was like, this is a Steven Stamkos speech. Like, play for each other, do for each other. And it was just exactly what that team was all about, was the sacrifices. And then we find out all the injuries they were dealing with, and this is the reason why. Like, they're warriors, man. That's what's been so cool. McDonough's another one. After we beat the Rangers in Game 6 here, he gave a nice speech. He's like, it would have sucked to lose to those guys. So he's glad they can finally have one up and thank the teammates. And he even himself was getting a little emotional. And so it's really cool to see these players give up so much, like show you how much it means to them.
Yeah.
Because we always say it's a sport, it's supposed to be fun, but it means a lot more than we think it does, you know?
Yeah. Game 7 against the Islanders was like a cool post game. We're going back to the Cup. Like, Hetty gave a nice speech. It's in Recharge, I'm pretty sure. And then it was Sergei's birthday. So, like, the whole room just starts singing him happy birthday. And it's like, these guys just played like the game of their lives, and now they're singing happy birthday to this guy. So that was definitely a very cool moment to see and be a part of.
The old Yanni shorthanded goal, right?
Yeah.
So I was outside on the plaza watching that with everybody, and then I ran, and I just didn't know what to do. I was just running up and down. It was so
that
crazy.
game that's probably
That's
a top
unreal.
tier game we've witnessed.
Oh, well, yeah, we'll remember these forever. All right, so we talked about Recharge. Were you guys behind the video of getting the players' reaction for the retro jerseys?
So we
had another team do that.
We had another
one.
team do that one.
Okay.
Just because we've been busy.
We put it together, but we had an outside company shoot that whole set and like set the
Really?
whole setup and everything. So yeah, it was great. But we put it together. Yeah, our guy Tyler Flood, he actually put it together.
We're not good interior designers, so we didn't
Yeah.
want to take that one.
That's
on.
interesting that you call in other people when you go, hey, this is outside of our skill set
100%,
or
yeah,
whatever.
we have such a demand on us, and then we know when the project is like, all right, we need some help to put this together, and we find some great partners to help us out.
Yeah, because we've been like same thing. We're working on a Recharge. We're doing whatever. We're currently doing the origin stories with Nick Paul and Victor Hedman. So sometimes it just gets to a point where it's like, okay, we need someone else to come in and do something like that.
What's next? You talked about the origin stories. What's something? Is there an idea that you've pitched recently that got completely shot down? Or are they afraid to shoot down your ideas at this point?
I'd say some things to look out for is for sure our Bolts Beginnings features coming up. We went to Nick Paul's hometown and went to Victor Hedman's hometown over the summer. So look for that in the coming months.
So did you go to Sweden?
You did?
Sweden,
Yeah, it was
so
awesome.
crazy.
Went to Ornskovik, hopefully I'm saying that right. Ornskovik, Sweden, the hometown of Victor Hedman.
So kind of like we've always had this dream of going to players' hometowns and doing features with them, but obviously we've been lucky enough to go on these long playoff runs. So by the time it's the summer, it's like guys get 4 weeks off. They don't want to do this. So
you guys are getting free vacations, man, for the
Oh,
summer.
I wish it was a vacation. It is that week that we just did. We did Canada and Sweden. It was amazing, rewarding, everything. But it was exhausting, stressful. We just have those moments where it's like, okay, we have 1 day in Sweden to film all this stuff. Like the pressure is on because we can't come back and shoot it. We're going back to the United States. Either we got it or we didn't. So it was an amazing experience, but it was definitely it was honestly surprising how put together, not last minute, but just we're going to go do this. And I had come back from a 2-week vacation and
he left us to do all the groundwork. On the prep.
So then I come back and it's Wednesday and they're like, we're flying to Toronto tomorrow morning. And I'm like, oh my, I have beef with the Toronto airport. I just come from there. So I'm like, oh, I don't want to go back.
They pat you down and stuff. Yeah,
awesome.
you do. Yeah.
It wasn't the same charter flight experience that we get with the team. So.
Right. Yeah. You got to find Southwest for this one. I get it.
That's
no, you're not getting all the snacks, that they're bringing you on the chartered flight.
Kind of like a good story with that is so it was a team of, I want to say 5 of us. It was Gabe, myself, Gabby, Missy, our social media person, and Kristen, one of our producers. And we were flying from Toronto to Sweden. We're in Sweden for only 3 days. And for some reason, European airlines think that 45 minutes is enough time to catch your next flight, or 30 minutes.
30.
So we land in Stockholm. We have to clear customs. We go through customs, then their version of TSA is one person with a conveyor belt, and we're in line, and we're just we're not making this flight to Umeå we were going to, and we're just gonna have to get on another one, whatever. We get through, we legitimately run through the Stockholm airport, and the guy at the gate is he's not you guys are good. He's keep running, you guys need to get on the plane. And we get on there out of breath, and as soon as we get on, they close the door. We're oh my god. So after 24 hours of travel, basically, we finally made it to Hetty's hometown.
And then we got right back, grabbed our cameras, and started getting scenics of the city. So there was no rest for the wicked.
It was the best sleep of my life that night, I think. Went to bed at 8 p.m., basically. But then going back, same thing. We're going through, we're taking a puddle jumper from Hetty's hometown to Stockholm. It's 2-seater planes. It's oh my god, are we even gonna make it?
Was he flying it? Isn't he a pilot?
No.
So he's gonna wait till I think
we were on his boat with him. He was a good captain.
Yeah, he was awesome. He was a very gracious host. He was so excited to show his city around. It was awesome.
He's a real gentleman. I think he's when you talk about gentlemen, he's maybe you're not really so sure. Hedman's a gentleman to me. You guys have spent way more time around him than I have. But yeah, he just seems like a hell of a guy to spend some time around.
Honestly, the best part is our social media manager, almost crashed his boat, and he still let us. He still hosted
unreal.
us the rest of the
Oh
day.
my goodness!
He was like, we was filling it up, so we had a long drive, so he's filling it up, and
No, we were at the dock.
we're at the dock. Yes, I'm saying
So
we were
like
filling it up.
in the front of he's in his on the dock, and in front of him is the dock. Like it's not like we're in open ocean.
Yeah.
And he's unhooking the boat, and he asked like for someone to come out and help him, and she walks by like the wheel, and she hits the thing.
Yeah.
And you just see Hetty. He's like, "What's that noise?" Like his head snaps
boat's
because it was
slowly
the
moving
motor.
forward.
Yeah. And if she had hit it more, we would have gunned right into the
Did
thing.
Hetty jump in and save the day?
Yeah, he saved the day,
Put it back, and he was like, "Don't walk through that that doorway." And we were like,
So that was the story in the
my
locker
God.
room when we finally got back and training camp opened. It was like, yeah, I heard the social media girl almost crashed his boat.
I was like, we are not going to be invited back if we had done that one.
The locker room just needs one little tidbit of something,
Yeah,
and they
literally.
can make get 3 games of
yeah.
material worth out of it. All right, listen, appreciate you guys doing this. I know
course.
you're obviously always behind the camera.
Yeah, this is
You're joking about
different.
doing this. This is not your Emmy, but you guys have won Emmys. Keep up the great work, man.
Appreciate you, man.
And thanks for stopping by today, guys.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thanks
It was
for
a
having
blast.
us.